How does a poor boy become a rich kid fast? The answer is simple. Just kill the real rich kid and impersonate him. His name is Jack and he's a genius at impersonation. Just by watching someone play the piano once, he can play it right away. He only needs to glance at someone else's signature to reproduce it perfectly. Even the thickness of the strokes is just right. Even the experts can't tell the difference between real and fake. What's even more amazing is that he imitates people's speech.
My ear jazz is just noise. Just an insolent noise.
Listen again to how he mimics.
Oh yes, jazz. Oh, jazz, let's face it, it's just insolent noise.
But talent did not change his fate as a poor man. Living at the bottom, he has no opportunities. He had to earn money by painting shoes in the toilet. But on that very day he was presented with the opportunity that would change his life. A wealthy man saw him in the uniform of a prestigious school. So wealthy man asked him, "My son's Tom is also from your school. Do you know him?" Of course Jack didn't know him. He hadn't even finished primary school. The uniform was just a loan for appearances. But Jack didn't want to miss out on the chance to make friends with the rich. So he replied immediately.
How is Dickie?
Seems like a simple answer, but it's very thoughtful. Not only does imply that him knows, he can also throw out questions and open up the conversation with the rich man. Make a rich man feel good about him and impress him. Sure enough, within a few days he was approached by wealthy man. Wealthy man wanted him to go to Italy and bring back his son who was not coming home, and will give him a large sum of money as a reward. Jack froze. How would he know the son of rich man? He was about to say no, but the rich man turned around and walked away. The rich man didn't give him a chance to refuse. Jack had no choice but to agree to it. Back home, Jack started investigating the rich kid. When he learns that rich kid likes jazz, Jack began to learn all kinds of jazz music. With a superb learning ability, he soon got the hang of it. When everything is ready, Jack then travels to Italy and sees the rich boy on the beach. But he didn't rush into it. He watched for a while. A perfect plan was drawn up. Jack poses as an alumnus pretending to pass by, saying hello to the rich kid. The rich guy asks him what he's doing here. Jack lied and said he was here on holiday. But the rich guy sees through his lie. If you're here on holiday, why aren't you tanned? Jack was a little embarrassed. But luckily the rich kid's fiancé was very welcoming and invited him to lunch. At the table, Jack again used his great talent for imitation. He amused the rich boy's father by mimicking his words.
Oh, I like to sail. Believe me, I love to sail. Instead, I make boats.
Stop! It's too much. You're making all the hairs on my neck stand.
Just as the rich boy was feeling the novelty, Jack made his intentions clear to the rich boy. He said, "I'd been sent by your father to take you home." The rich boy's face turned black when he heard. He said there was no way he was going home, and told Jack to get out of the place. To his surprise, Jack agreed. He packed his bags and said goodbye to the rich boy. But just as he was leaving, Jack appears to have accidentally dropped a few jazz records favored by rich kids.
You like jazz? Love jazz.
The rich boy was surprised. He had no idea that Jack and he shared the same interests and had exactly the same tastes. This immediately got the rich kid interested, immediately asking Jack to stay. But what he didn't know was that this was all Jack's plan. Jack knew very well that he could not convince the rich boy to go back with just his own mouth. It might even cause the rich boy to resent him. Instead of that, he could find a way to become friends with him. Soon, Jack had gained the rich boy's trust. Not only did he live in the rich boy's mansion, but he also becomes a double agent, cheating rich old dad out of money to eat, drink, and be merry. Jack, a poor boy, is living the life of a rich man for the first time. Soon, he loses himself. Unknowingly, Jack began to imitate the rich kid. Not only did he imitate his tone of voice and actions, he even wore the rich kid's clothes, using his things. But what he didn't know was that he's just a plaything for a rich kid. Soon, the novelty of a rich kid wore off. He returns to his original circle of rich friends. One of the fat guys looked down on Jack and taunted him. "Not only do you eat rich kids' food, you live in rich kids' houses. You even take his father's money. You're a parasite." Jack was angry, but he didn't snap on the spot. He thought that if he kept putting up with it, he could continue to be friends with the rich kid, and that life would go on. But he also had a vague feeling that this dream seemed to be waking up. On day, the two went to sea together. Jack was excitedly planning his future, but the rich boy was suddenly angry. The rich boy told him to roll home.
I think we've seen enough of each other for a while. You can be a leech. You know that. It's boring.
Hearing these words, Jack's heart was broken, and the two had a big fight. At this moment, Jack was soberly aware of the gap between himself and the rich kids. Jack irritated and angry. He could no longer control. Jack held up the oar and hit the rich kid in the head one after the other. It was the first time he had ever killed anyone. He climbed ashore, not knowing what to do. He saw the boat with the body slowly sinking into the sea. He panicked and went back to the hotel. He was ready to get his things and run, but a word from the front desk made him hesitate.
Senor Greenleaf, yes?
No,
It turned out that these days he had been imitating the rich Tom's every move, slowly and subconsciously. Jack had taken on 8 parts of the rich kid's demeanor. At this moment, Jack had a bold idea. He decided to live as a rich kid's, but there was one fatal weakness in this matter. That is the rich kid's fiancé. In order to conceal his identity, Jack first wrote a breakup letter imitating the Tom's tone. Then he imitated the notes of the Tom and signed Tom's signature. And finally, he wrapped the letter in a perfume package. It's Tom and his fiancé's little secret. Tom didn't tell anyone, but Jack, who was very attentive, found out. As expected, expected. The fiancé was devastated after receiving the letter. The next step was to fake a sign that Tom was still alive. Jack took Tom's luggage and traveled to Rome overnight. He opened 2 different hotels. He traveled back and forth between the 2 hotels, calling himself, leaving messages with the front desk, creating the illusion that Tom was still alive. Then Jack used Tom's name to meet a rich girl. She and the rich girl went to the bank together to withdraw money. The rich girl was familiar with the teller. When the teller's guard is down, Jack hands over her passport, but the teller is still a little hesitant to look at the photo. Then Jack said,
I don't want too many large bills. No one will change them.
Sure enough, the hassle of the job makes the teller stop checking right away and started counting the notes one by one. Next thing you know, Jack takes Tom's money and starts customizing expensive clothes. He could buy as many as he wanted. Before he knew it, Jack seemed to be a real aristocrat. But soon, a new problem arose. That day, he went to the opera with a rich girl, but during the intermission, Jack bumped into someone who called himself Peter. But the worst thing was, behind Peter was Tom's fiancé, took off the rich kid's ring in a hurry, and put on his black glasses. He became Jack, the poor boy. It turns out that Tom's fiancé came to Rome to confront the Tom. Jack was in a panic because the rich girl is nearby. Once the 2 women meet, his double identity will be exposed. At the critical moment, he made an appointment with the Tom's fiancé tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at the cafe. Then he took off his glasses. He becomes a rich kid again. Then he left the theater with the rich girl. When he got out of the car, Jack had a plan. He also asked the rich girl to meet him tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock at the same cafe. And so, the 2 women met. Jack was peeping from a short distance away. The fiancé thinks Tom dumped her to find another woman, and the rich girl thinks that the rich guy arranged the meeting so that she can help him to get rid of her. This is really a great trick. The Tom's fiancé was completely disillusioned. Jack finally solved the problem. He rented a luxury flat, ready to start his new life. But that day, an unexpected guest came to his door. It was Eddie, a friend of Tom. Eddie said Tom was supposed to go skiing with him, but now he's suddenly disappeared. So Eddie found the flat registered in his name. He didn't realize that there was only Jack here. Eddie was already suspicious. Obviously it's the rich kid's flat, but why is the decoration so shabby? And Jack was looking more and more like a rich kid, but there's no proof. Eddie could only mock Jack and leave. Downstairs, he ran into the landlady. He saw the landlady looking up at Jack and shouting out the name of Tom. At that moment, Eddie understood everything.
Dickie doesn't play the piano.
One step wrong. In order to keep his murder from being exposed, Jack had no choice. He had no choice but to kill again. He dragged the fat man's body out of the house, ready to destroy his body. But then a passerby passed by. Jack had an idea. He started talking to himself in Eddie's voice. Makes it look like he's taking care of his drunken friend.
If I'm drunk, think your husband's sad.
After tricking the passerby, Jack dumped Eddie's body in the middle of nowhere. The next day, Eddie's death caught the attention of the police. The police began to come to the door to investigate. At first, Jack didn't panic. He had a story ready to tell. But then the police said they found a bloodied shipwreck the other day, and Jack finally panicked. Is he about to be caught out killing Tom? He decided not to sit back and wait, but to take the initiative. He wrote a suicide note using Tom's identity. The suicide note states that he not only admitted that he killed Eddie, he couldn't accept his actions, so he decided to kill himself. Careful Jack scratched Tom's passport photo and forged an identical signature. Sure enough, the police didn't suspect anything. Jack got away with it again. He came to Venice under his own identity. He found his new friends. He thought his life would go on like this, but there was one person he didn't count on, the rich kid's father. He couldn't believe his son was dead, because he found out that Tom had withdrawn a large sum of money before he died. A person who decided to commit suicide. What's the point of withdrawing money? And Tom's fiancée didn't believe it either. She started to investigate secretly, until that day, she finally found the evidence. She found Tom's ring in Jack's house. Tom swore an oath that he would never take it off. Jack panicked. He asked Allie to give him some time to explain. The moment he closed the bathroom door, the cold look in his eyes revealed his murderous intent. He started digging around for tools. He finally found a razor, and Ellie sensed the danger. She was about to leave when Jack stopped her. He explained as he slowly approached Ellie. Ellie panicked. There was no turning back. Right about this time, the door suddenly opened. It was Jack's friend. Ellie got away with it. The next day, Jack came to the rich man's house and tried to explain, but the rich man said, "There's no need to say anymore. My detective has something to tell you." When he was done, he took Ellie with him. Jack can only pretend to be calm. He didn't expect the detective to open his mouth and say, "I want you to keep it a secret forever." It turns out Tom's always had a violent streak. He almost beat to death a classmate at school. The rich man sent his son to Europe to avoid the lawsuit. He didn't expect Tom to go out and not want to go back. So when the rich man heard that his son had killed someone, he wasn't surprised, but he thought Tom hadn't killed himself at all. He took a huge sum of money and fled. In order to save the family's honor, the rich man decided to let the matter rest, and offered Jack a large sum of money to keep his mouth shut. Now, Jack's got away perfectly. Not long after that, Jack and his friends were on a cruise ship, singing their favorite songs on the deck. It's as if they've started all over again, but how could the lies he had told disappear so easily? Then a woman suddenly stopped him. It was the rich girl who liked him and thought he was Tom. Her parents were there and said hello to Jack. Jack's dream of rebirth was shattered. Now he's really Tom. To add to his despair, the friend saw him meeting with a rich girl. What's he going to do now? because he met them under different identities. Now he has only two choices, either kill the rich girl and live as Jack, or kill his friend, always living in the role of a pretender. But he had no choice. The rich girl's family was there, but his friend was alone. Jack leaned on his friend's back and wept. His friend didn't realize, behind him, Jack had already pulled out the rope. Soon after, Jack returned to his room in a state of shock. This was the third time he had killed someone. The panic of the first time was gone from his face. The only thing left was indifference. A breeze blew by. The door closed slowly. Jack sat where he was. The darkness swallowed him up. End of film.